So as you saw by the title of this episode, we are talking about Grindr and how it could potentially be affecting your self-esteem. So if you are a gay or bisexual man, it is likely that you've seen, used, or at least heard of Grindr, right? And this is how the usual pattern goes. And I speak from experience on this. It's the weekend. You have no plans, you're feeling a little lonely or a little horny, maybe you've had a drink or two, and you open a little app called Grindr and you start searching for somebody to hook up with. And for many men, including myself, when I was using it, there was always this kind of underlying hope that I would connect with someone on more than just a physical level. And that would be the start of this amazing whirlwind romance story. And I'm not saying that that's the case for every single person, right? Because not everybody is as delusional as I was. But dating in the gay community is not easy, right? And therefore, we look for short-term intimacy with the hopes of some kind of long-term connection. We all have needs. And if we aren't going to have any luck meeting Mr. Right, we can at least have a brief moment of physical connection with someone to soothe our frustrations or our anxieties around this kind of perpetual feeling of singledom. Grindr has made connecting with other people simple and convenient, right? But does that convenience come with a cost? Are you, in fact, investing into something that does not have a return? Are you potentially losing yourself in the search of finding that love and that connection? Or has Grindr been a beacon of light for you when you felt lost in the dark? You know, these are all things that we're going to discuss in this episode. So make sure that you stick around until the end. But before we jump in, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Danny. I am a self-esteem and love coach, and I work with gay and bisexual men on all matters of relationships, dating, self-esteem building, confidence building, all that good stuff. So I wanted to thank you for tuning into this episode. Thank you for tuning into the Deep Penetration podcast. If you are somebody who's already subscribed to the podcast, thank you so much. If you are not subscribed yet, please make sure you are subscribing and sharing the podcast with other people. It just helps to keep this podcast going, right? And allow me to have these very open and candid conversations with you. If you want to learn more about me and what it is I do, I will leave all my information in the description of the episode. So you'll have access to my website, to my Stan store if you're interested in coaching, the access to the free gift, which is the 7 things that you need to find and thrive and love as a gay or a bisexual man. Everything will be there for you. So make sure that you are checking out the description of this episode. Now, in the middle of the episode, towards the end of the episode, I would probably say towards the end of the episode, because if you do it now, then that means you're not going to be listening to the episode. So you want to stick around for this conversation, because I know that a majority of you have probably had your experiences on Grindr to some degree. All right, so let us jump into it. So for those of you who don't know, Grindr was, let me double check my notes really quick just to make sure that I'm getting this information correct, because I don't want to get these dates wrong or the name of the individual who started Grindr. Okay, so Grindr was started by a man named Joel Simcale in 2009 in Los Angeles, California. And the original intent of Grindr was to create a platform where gay men could meet based on proximity. And at the time, it was a revolutionary concept, and it paved a way for many other companies to model their dating apps after. And while I truly believe that the app itself was created to help men connect, over time, Grindr has taken on a different reputation. Grindr is now the #1 hookup app for gay and bisexual men, and in my opinion, should not be categorized as a dating app. Many of my clients that I work with will argue that Grindr is a dating app and that it is a great way for them to meet people. But I would argue that it's a false truth. Yes, Grindr does give you the ability to meet people and to connect, but not in the way that is conducive to a healthy or a sustainable relationship. And if you've convinced yourself that Grindr is the best dating app, I don't think that you are truly looking for a serious long-term relationship. In fact, I would argue that you are likely attached to the hunt, the need for external validation, and possibly addicted to sex, depending on the frequency you are meeting up with strangers. But allow me to clarify something. Grindr helped me to explore my sexuality and experience things that I would have never experienced if it had not been for that app. For me, as a self-esteem and a love coach, intentionality is key. And a lesson I wish I'd learned early on in my dating/hookup phase was this, right? To be intentional. So Grindr absolutely served a purpose in my life when I needed it. And if it is doing that for you now, great. There's nothing wrong with that. The danger comes with time. The longer you are on the app, the more likely you are to struggle with vulnerability and connection. The very reason the app was created in the first place, which is kind of ironic if you think about it. The higher the body count, the higher the chances of acquiring a mentality of disposability are. Life is all about balance. I truly believe this. And if you have the ability to only open the app every so often, then great, right? Maybe you have had a super busy work week, super busy work month. You're single, you're craving some human affection or attention, and you open up the app and you meet up with somebody. Fine, not a big deal. But the reality is most people don't have that level of discipline or the ability to do that. A majority of the men that I work with are constantly on the app, looking for people, looking to connect with people. And my concern is that over a period of time, it's going to desensitize you to vulnerability and connection, which is the main elements of being able to build a sustainable and healthy relationships. So what are some of the benefits of using Grindr? Right. So the first one here is increased accessibility and connection. So Grindr provides a platform for you to connect with other gay and bisexual men, regardless of geographical location. So if you are someone who feels a little more isolated or has limited access to LGBTQ plus spaces due to your geographical location, it can offer that sense of community and belonging, right? And that potentially can boost your self-esteem by facilitating these connections with like-minded people. And for many of you that live in areas that don't have a large LGBTQ plus population, for example, certain cities and states in the Midwest or the South in the United States, Grindr might be your only viable option for connecting and meeting people. And I often find that clients I've worked with from the Midwest have a higher success rate on Grindr for dating purposes than some people in large cities, or a larger sum of my clients in larger cities, because the motivations are different. When there are too many options, people have a tendency of developing this kind of grass is greener mentality, which allows more scrutiny and higher standards across the board. Less options redirects the focus on connection and personality rather than just looks. The second thing here is exploration and identity. Exploration of your identity and specific preferences, right? So Grindr's diverse user base and its customizable profile options allows you to explore and express your identity, your preferences and desires openly, which can contribute to a greater sense of self-awareness and acceptance, right? And engaging with different people and experiences on this app can also help you to clarify what it is you're looking for and what it is you are not looking for, especially when it comes to identifying the things that you would want in a relationship and the things that you would not want. So learning how to set boundaries. The thing that I want you to keep in mind here is I always ask people to do their best to be empathetic and to be compassionate. blocking somebody, ghosting somebody, being rude to somebody is not a boundary, right? That's just plain old rejection. And there's a difference between a boundary and a rejection. A boundary is something that you create in order to protect your self-identity and your autonomy ahead of time and communicate with somebody. A rejection is usually a result of violating that boundary. So if you're just straight up rejecting people because it gives you an ego boost or it makes you feel good or because you're afraid of confrontation, definitely something that I would say take some time to reflect on. I know I kind of segued there, but it's just something that I felt like I really had to talk about. The third thing here is validation and empowerment, right? So positive interactions and attention received on Grindr, it can contribute to kind of feelings of validation and empowerment, which technically could boost your self-esteem, right? Receiving compliments, messages of interest, or even just like successful meetups and hookups feels good. I don't want to lie about it. It does feel good, especially when in the LGBTQ plus community, a lot of people face discrimination and marginalization, and this validation can translate into a greater sense of confidence and a more positive outlook on dating and relationships. But it does come with its downside. Becoming hyper-focused in just on the attention and the validation can actually have the reverse effect on your self-esteem and self-confidence. It is always nice to receive compliments, but don't become dependent on them to feel good. Developing a strong sense of self and the ability to self-validate will help with this exponentially. So, what are some issues with Grindr? And in my personal opinion, I think that there are more issues than there is good. But again, that is my own personal opinion. In no way am I judging you. In no way am I saying that if you are somebody who is an advocate for Grindr, that you're wrong. No, that's not it. It just means that we have a differing opinions or a different opinions on these things. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And again, like I said, I acknowledge that Grindr definitely has its benefits because it definitely helped me when I needed to explore my sexuality. I definitely had my fun with Grindr, but this is why I'm talking about intentionality, right? So the first one is its impact on self-esteem and body image. Grindr emphasizes, how do I want to say this? Let's put it this way. Grindr's emphasis on physical appearance and body focus can negatively impact your self-esteem, especially for anyone who doesn't feel like they fit the conventional beauty standards or you struggle with body image issues. Constantly comparing yourself to others can lead to feelings of inadequacy and can erode your self-esteem and contribute to this kind of sense of worthlessness or unattractiveness over a period of time. And when I tell you, Grindr as an environment really focuses and emphasizes physical qualities, that's really what people lead with. So if you've ever utilized Grindr before, you've never utilized Grindr and you've been considering it, people don't say hi, they send you a dick pic to introduce themselves. So let me just give you that as an example in regards to how much the physical body is the emphasis for this app. The second thing is superficiality and shallow connections. The nature of Grindr as a location-based hookup app is the perfect environment to foster these kind of superficial interactions and focus on this immediate gratification rather than meaningful connections. So engaging in casual or transactional sex can leave you feeling super empty and unfulfilled over an extended period of time, especially if you are seeking a deeper emotional connection with somebody or a long-term relationship. It can lead to this cycle of disappointments and lowered self-esteem as you struggle to find genuine connection amidst a group of people that are just looking for a quick, I hate to put it this way, but a quick hookup, a quick fuck. I don't know if I could say that, but I'm going to say it. So I guess I'll just have to mark this episode explicit. That's fine. The third thing here is the risk of rejection and discrimination. Grindr is full of blank profiles and down low men. And therefore, their anonymity and lack of accountability can embolden some users to engage in very hurtful or discriminatory behavior like ghosting, harassment, or discrimination based on factors like race, ethnicity, or HIV status, right? Experiencing rejection or discrimination on the app can have a profound impact on your self-esteem, reinforcing these negative beliefs about your worthiness or love or self-acceptance. So navigating these experiences can create certain barriers to forming trusting and authentic connections with others. And it just kind of perpetuates these feelings of negativity and of isolation and of mistrust. The fourth thing here is comparison and performance anxiety, right? Grindr's culture of instant gratification and constant availability of potential partners can lead to feelings of pressure to perform and to compete with other people on the app, right? Seeing idolized versions of other users' lives and experiences can fuel these kind of comparisons and insecurities, right? Leading to performance anxiety and self-doubt. You may start to feel inadequate if you perceive yourself as not measuring up to the standards set by others on the app. Your self-esteem and your confidence in forming meaningful connections with other people, I personally think, should be the priority here, and protecting that should be the priority here. So navigating an app like Grindr is going to result in these comparisons and these insecurities that bubble up out of nowhere that you may not have even known existed until you started to explore the apps. So it can very profoundly affect your dating life in the future. So when you finally do decide to date more intentionally and get off the app, you can experience some difficulty trusting others' intentions because of your experience on Grindr. The fifth thing here is emotional detachment and desensitization. I've talked about this many, many times in my previous videos, on my TikTok videos, all that stuff, right? The transient nature of the interactions on Grindr, as I mentioned before, where most people come and go without much of any kind of emotional investment, can contribute to emotional detachment and desensitization over a period of time. You know, engaging in a series of brief surface level encounters can desensitize you to your emotions and to wanting to be vulnerable. And those are the things that are necessary in forming deeper connections, and it can make it very challenging for you in the future. You know, this emotional detachment can lead to a sense of emptiness or disconnection, which can ultimately impact the ability to form lasting, fulfilling relationships, both off and on the app. So if we really take a step back and break down the overall theme in the issues category, the reoccurring theme here is trust. We stop trusting ourselves and we stop trusting others. You know, I truly believe Grindr has its benefits, but I firmly believe that the extended use of this application has led to a lot of the dating issues that we see today amongst gay and bisexual men. Everyone is looking for the next best thing, unable to commit, and lacking the conflict resolution skills to sustain a long-term and healthy relationship because of the ease of just blocking or ghosting somebody. I personally feel we need to hit the reset and relearn how to love and how to be loved in a healthy way. And that is my goal with this podcast, and that is why I do what I do. I hope you found this episode to be insightful. I hope you found it to be helpful. I hope I didn't speak too fast because I got a little passionate about it, and I'm Cuban and I can't help how fast my words come out sometimes. But I hope you were able to keep up. If not, just listen to the episode again. Can't hurt. But again, I hope you guys found it to be helpful. Again, and I'll say this, I keep saying again. Why do I keep saying again? I think Grindr has its benefits, but again, I said it again and again. As a self-esteem and love coach, I think that there are other options that are healthier options when it comes to dating. But if you are in your hoe phase, go for it, boo-boo. Use it. It is a great resource for you. You just have to be intentional with it. I will leave all my information in the description of the episode. If you need to reach out to me for any reason, please do not hesitate. I hope you're having an amazing day, evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you in the next episode.